practically every single county that our viewers are in. And with so many people now without power, there are some alerts across Central Florida that you need to know about. The town of Pearson in Volusia County is under a boil water notice for the time being, and the city of DeLand is asking people to minimize water usage as much as possible to keep the wastewater from getting into the sewer system while the power is out. Also in Seminole County, more than 100 lift stations are out across the county. Officials say the sanitary sewer pumps in Aloma Woods, Wentworth, Aliqua Lakes, Lake Forest Preserve at Eagle Lake, and Woodbine. Crews are out working right now to fix the issue, but they're asking in the meantime to minimize your water use.
In Winter Springs alone, the city says more than 20 lift stations lost power. They say crews working as quickly as possible to fix this issue. Again, in the meantime, as Martha just mentioned, asking as well to reduce water usage and flushing as much as possible. And in Winter Park, the city says several of their lift stations are also without power, so they need you to conserve your water as much as possible. The good news is no boil water alert there at this time.
Brevard County officials are asking everyone who lives south of the Pineda Causeway to reduce their water usage. They say a major lift station in the area lost power overnight, and by reducing your water use, it will prevent water backups into homes and rivers, as well as out onto the streets. Marion County says many of the lift stations in the county are not operational because of Irma. They're asking that you only use water if absolutely necessary until the power is restored. They say electric companies will work on that just as soon as it's safe outside.
Moving to Polk County now, utility crews reporting some of the smaller lift stations in the county are down because of those power outages that are widespread. And those include the lift stations in Oakwood, Janville Village, Queens Cove, and Oak Preserve. They do expect wastewater to spill onto the ground near those stations, but not to back up into homes, at least at this point. They are asking you to use water sparingly for the time being there as well. And in Orlando, the message is the same. City officials also asking you to minimize your water usage. They say it will help prevent the risk of sewer system backups as crews start to assess the damage. An update now on curfews across Central Florida. Curfew for Volusia County ended at noon, but it's expected to start again at 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Curfew for Flagler extended until 7 a.m. tomorrow. Most other counties have curfews ending at 6 tonight. That includes Orange and Osceola. Lake County's curfew was lifted at 2 p.m. Seminole County lifted its curfew at 11.
Governor Rick Scott is speaking from Miami about the extensive damage Hurricane Irma caused all across the state.
So let's listen into some of what he has to say to residents who evacuated before Irma's arrival.
We've received 7 reports of tornadoes, including 2 in Brevard County. The National Weather Service is working to confirm these reports. Given this weather report, if your family and your family have evacuated, it's extremely important that you check with local officials before return home to make sure you can safely do so. Don't go back. Don't think just because this thing packed you can run home or passed you can run home. We've got down power lines all across the state. We've got roads that are impassable still across the state. We've got debris all over the state.
We have debris, and combining with that are all the utility crews and the folks that are out there working to get the power back on, clear up the roads. I mean, it is going to be a long process, and it's busy out there. But again, the curfew is in place because officials want you safe and don't want you out there venturing out and being looky-loos, if you will, and get yourself hurt.
It is absolutely incredibly dangerous. We have had crews come in. I just had one talk to me, and they said that people are going through four-way stop signs. Most of them are down, more than 70%, and blowing straight through.
And you have to treat that as a four-way stop.
Yeah, so if they see a couple of cars up ahead that are going through, they're just continuing on. Meantime, someone's inching out. There is going to be a serious accident if there has not already been so. So please treat this as a four-way stop. Don't assume that the other person is going to stop. And the bottom line, stay home. Let's go back over to Tom Terry. He is back in Severe Weather Center 9. Tom, again, the power is going to be out for some time, and we also have still some storms that could impact to the north of us, but looking back on last night, it was a rough evening.
Yeah, this is last night. Don't think this is going on now. This was last night, but I want to do just a little bit of analysis and show you kind of how things transpired, and we'll put this full screen. I'll walk in front of the chroma key with this, but we had a line of tornadoes, 51 tornado warning polygons by the National Weather Service in Melbourne, who did a fantastic job keeping track of all of these. This was the center of Irma, which actually kind of moved on this kind of northwesterly course, which we showed you last night. Instead of along the coast near Tampa, it was a little farther east, and that made a big difference in the winds that we ultimately received. But we just had this tremendous tornado-producing engine. We had several of these twisters that were well over 130 miles per hour worth of gate-to-gate shear, wind energy that just came spiraling on shore, Palm Bay, North Merritt Island, the Mims area, and then it went all the way up toward Ormond Beach, even came all the way over into the Umatilla area. And I'm sure there were others that hope not, but pretty sure that we had some others also that we'll be finding as we go along and start surveying all the damage. Some of the wind gusts. We lost a lot of instruments. We're trying to give you the best analysis of what we had, but 83 miles per hour over at Flagler Beach. I know we had I think it was 93 Playa Linda in Brevard County last night. Lake Kissimmee 81, so that was closer to where the hurricane made its approach. Leesburg at nearly 70, so a whole wall of hurricane force winds. That's what we were telling you. Prepare for that hurricane force wind gust no matter where you are, whether it comes from a tornado or just from straight line winds itself. Now, Orange County, I took just a couple of sites here to show you because we had Christian Brewery in a neighborhood here in Orlando where they had widespread flooding. I checked our sensor that's right on the roof here at Channel 9 in downtown, 21.39 inches in the last 2 days. So that is a whole lot of water in 48 hours. Apopka, 16.63, just a couple of some of the higher rainfall totals that I've been able to glean. Right now, you can see the tropical storm warnings have been discontinued except for our areas up here to the north, and the winds are still gusty right now. 33, 35 miles per hour, 36 over in Claremont, but the heaviest wind shield has moved to the north, where, by the way, Irma is now in Georgia, and look how large the tropical storm force warning is. It goes all the way up to North Georgia, so that's where the center of Irma is. Right now, you can still see the wind speeds throughout the evening tonight starting to slowly diminish after sunset. So again, continue to be safe today. We've had those tropical storm force wind gusts, but they're starting to wane. Be careful with those generators out there. Don't put them in the garage. Usually, sometimes that backs up some of the carbon monoxide. Not good, Martha.
And just to play off what you're saying, Tom, I'm reading online now that Miami-Dade's mayor is confirming that someone has died due to carbon monoxide poisoning from a generator that's just crossing the wires now. So someone has died using one of those.
We have one at our house. Power's out. It's on the back patio. This is kind of one of the things that you this is part of that hurricane plan that we always talk about. If you do need to use your generator, scope out where you can put it in a safe area that's going to be somewhat sheltered, but that is still completely outside, that's not blowing any carbon monoxide or exhaust in toward your house. So again, we're still expecting to have the word to go out for a lot of folks to be able to get out and around. Curfews will be ending in Orange County here, I believe, at 6 o'clock. The winds continue to diminish, so we're going to have much more coming up, guys, but we had several tornadoes that moved their way on shore last night. Shannon Butler has been showing us some incredible footage from the Mims area here in just the last half hour. We had a whole mass of tornadoes and hurricanes and flooding and storm surge. Every part of the hurricane that you could have for, we had it right here in Central Florida.
And you know what I am just stunned by? All of the warnings that you have provided and emergency managers, Tom, including washouts and the mud flowing from construction. I'm going to show a picture in just a minute of cars submerged in mud at the 429. Those pictures are coming your way, but everything you guys said has come true, unfortunately.
Yeah, and again, this hurricane, we actually got a little bit lucky, if I can use that term here, because this was a very well-defined Category 3 hurricane coming on shore in Marco Island. Had a nice center of circulation, but watch as the wind field expanded, it was just almost flattened it out. So we took all this kind of circular wind energy and made it into a linear line. And I think what that did is that it kind of took all the wind power and distributed it over a larger area, but it also diminished its overall punch a little bit. I think a little bit helps. Greg and Martha, if we'd had another 10, 15 miles per hour worth of wind last night, I think we would have seen a whole category more wind damage across the area. We had a lot, but I was frankly surprised to see that we didn't lose more trees, like, for example, right outside the station last night.
Yeah, it just depends on where you were, whether or not you've got that punch or not. But, Tom, what a storm it was. And we're going to check back in with you in just a second. We want to get outside and show what's happening out there in Central Florida, various locations. We're getting a lot of folks saying, what about us? What about us?
And we've seen a lot of flooding when we've had heavy rains in the Cranes Roost area in Altamont Springs. And our Field Sutton is there live right now at Cranes Roost Park with more on what's happening there. Field.
And I want to start out by being clear that when you're talking about Cranes Roost, this is not where we have any residences right along the edge of it or anything. The flooding has become more of just a curiosity, something to ogle at for people who have made it safely through this storm. You can see a bunch of them down there. So this is not any set of dire circumstances. There are many others in this area that we're going to be traveling to throughout the rest of the afternoon and evening, but I wanted to start with something that people can identify with. A lot of people have been here, and I'm standing here on the very edge of it. You look out, it's just solid water. You can see how the ramp goes down here and how that would be all those lower walkways if you're familiar with the area. Looking past that, you can see some stairs that have been sort of floated up where they don't belong, the stage there, surrounded on all sides by water. And a lot of wind still out here too. In case you haven't been outside, the remnants of the wind in this storm are still very much alive, but certainly nothing like we saw last night. So all of this flooded out goes to the other side. On the other side, there are walkways with benches and stuff. All of that is underwater as well. Of course, this happens frequently here, and this is not likely to cause any significant long-term damage, but it is a mess to clean up. If you look straight down to the ground, Joe can show you a lot of debris that gets washed up and a really big mess to deal with. Just as a point of curiosity for the viewers, in case you have not yet heard, the very famous Majesty building, also known as the I-4 eyesore, is directly behind me. You probably can't see it mostly for the trees, but it appears to be unscathed, depending on your school of thought. You may have opinions on that, but that is something that, of course, social media goes crazy with anytime there's a storm or anything. People wanting to know what's going to happen to that building, and it is alive and well this afternoon. So as I said, we're going to be continuing throughout Seminole County. I believe we're going next to a place that I understand from our own Marty Salt has some flooding issues of its own, a place where a lot of older people live in a neighborhood having to be gotten out by a canoe right now. So that is the next stop. Stay tuned with us, and I will be back with you from somewhere else in Seminole County just as soon as I can get out there to check out what's going on. Live in Seminole County, Field Sutton, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
All right, Field, we are taking in those phone calls, those texts, those tweets, those messages, and we're dispatching our crews. We have Sky Witness 9 up as well, so we're trying to get to everybody that we can. And now we're going to head on over to Brevard County.
Yeah, our Melanie Holt is checking out the damage near Palm Bay.
We've moved on to Cimarron Circle here in Palm Bay, where a number of residents are cleaning up debris right now left behind by Hurricane Irma. What you can't see in this neighborhood at this moment is all of the water that was in this area. But the city of Palm Bay tells me that the water did rise in this area so high, in fact, that at least at this home there was about a foot of water inside of the residence. And we're told there was water intrusion into a few other residences here on Cimarron Circle. Now, in terms of county-wide, I did just get an update in the last half hour, and at this point 50% of the county is without water due to multiple major water main breaks experienced by the Cocoa water system. Now, 86% of the county, 86% remains without power. I'm told that county offices will remain closed on Tuesday, and they will determine on a case-by-case basis, day by day, when those offices might reopen. Now, Adamson Road, this is also very important. The road that leads to the county's main landfill in Cocoa is washed out at the moment. So they have that to deal with as well. But obviously, they are trying to get things back to normal as quickly as possible. And we're going to keep you up to date on all the latest information. Reporting from Palm Bay, Melanie Holt, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
What her eyes and her photographer have seen over these last 24, 36 hours, just amazing. That's her county, and she has seen this firsthand.
And we've just got an update from FHP about operations on the turnpike. The tolls are still suspended along the road. The vehicle-only fuel restriction is also still in effect at all open service plazas, which means you can't go there and just fill up whatever you want. You got to fill up your vehicle. Absolutely,
not just filling up any kind of container. FHP says fuel service closed at these turnpike service plazas: Okahumpka at mile marker 300, Turkey Lake mile marker 263, and Canoe Creek at mile marker 229. Now, the Fort Drum Service Plaza has fuel available, but there is no diesel service tonight. And FHP says all fuel service is available at the following turnpike service plazas: Fort Pierce at mile marker 145, West Palm at mile marker 94, Pompano at mile marker 65, and Snapper Creek down at mile marker 19.
We're also, though, working to we've been getting a lot of questions from our viewers saying we need to fill up at a gas station around town what's open, because I've seen some gas stations that have the stations are wrapped, if you will, the pumps, no fuel. So we're working on to get that information for you so you know where you can fill up when you're going out back on the road.
Some were designated by the governor as staying open. He said that he would actually escort those employees there to make sure they got there so that fuel could be flowing, but people really shouldn't be on the roads other than emergency personnel. We're still a little bit of time from that.
We want to go right now to Mike Manzoni, who is in St. Cloud, where there are some down power lines.
We're in a St. Cloud neighborhood right now that's just starting to clean up. We've seen some tree branches and small trees like this one down, but what's even more dangerous are the power lines, and there is one running right across the road here. What's really scary about this is, as my photographer and I were driving up, we didn't even see it until we got right about here. It's black, but it's still difficult to see for some reason. As cars go through, they are driving and getting right under it, passing through it on that side. But this is the kind of thing that you really are going to want to watch out for. We have seen this in some other areas, in some other streets as we were driving here from Kissimmee. We're going to continue to kind of check around the St. Cloud and Kissimmee area, let you know what we find. For now, we're in St. Cloud. Mike Manzoni, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Mike, thank you. The helpline number for you right here.
1-800-832-9388. We have a team of volunteers that are there manning the phones. If you have any questions, give us a call, 1-800-832-9388, and we will answer all of your questions.
New information, speaking of questions, UCF, the football game did not happen this week, and it will not happen next week either. This is some breaking news into us. The University of Central Florida agreed to host up to 1,000 National Guard members and 250 vehicles on campus. That amount of personnel, in addition to the number and types of vehicles, mean that the Spectrum Stadium area and around it would not be feasible for a football game. So the Knights game next Saturday against Georgia Tech has now been called off. Several hundred National Guard members were expected to stage at UCF campus starting today. In terms of rescheduling the game, that has not happened yet, but no football game at UCF again this coming weekend as well.
And we have an update now on the Orange County shelter situation with Sierra Putman, who actually interviewed Commissioner Victoria Siplin.
We're here at Barnett Park Recreation Center, one of the shelters. It was actually a host shelter here in Orange County, so it accepted people from outside of the area that needed help. Now, this was one of 8 shelters that intermittently, in some cases, lost power. Actually, here, they lost power for a few hours, and I just found out from the shelter manager that they actually did not have a generator, but they just got power restored. We're here with Commissioner Victoria Siplin. What were you most worried about when you found out there was no power here?
Well, you know, when I came out here this morning, I learned about the power outage, and you have approximately 500 people that were here being sheltered from the storm, and you think about the safety and the health concerns, because you do have elderly folks that are in wheelchairs, and this is also one of our pet shelters. So you kind of worry about the safety and the health aspects as it pertains to a large crowd like this.
And I know that the shelter manager was telling us, and you were letting me know before, that it was wired for a generator, but there just wasn't a generator here. Did you know the shelters didn't need to have them? That's what the county's telling me.
Well, yeah, I didn't know about the generator issue here, but I know that the most important thing was for us to make sure that power was restored here. So we reached out to OUC, and of course, we have power, and they have a crew that's out here, and this was one of their top concerns. So I am just grateful that they were able to get the power back, and I know people are waiting, you know, for 6 o'clock, because that's when the curfew is going to be lifted. But we want them to also have precaution as they exit, to make sure that there's still trees down, power lines. So we've educated them on that too.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And we're actually here with one of a local man who brought his family here, Jose Lugo. You were here when the power went out. What were you thinking? Were you afraid?
No, I wasn't afraid, because I think we're in a good place, safe place, and we're pretty happy here. I mean, we're happy to be in a safety place. That's the more important thing.
And when the generator, well, they didn't have a generator, we're finding out, but when the power went out, Did you feel like you were less safe here than you would have been at home?
No, I feel really safe even with no power because we know we're in a pretty strong building. And fortunately, we have the power restored right away, a couple hours. Okay. So we're very happy.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jose. Now, again, we know at least 8 shelters lost power, most of them just for a short period of time. It went in, it went out, but we are hearing from the county that some of those shelters had generators and the generators failed. At least one that I know of, Colonial High School, that shelter, they did not have a generator, and right now they are waiting for power to be restored. And again, the county says shelters do not have to have generators at these locations. Reporting in Orange County, Sierra Putman, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And let's take a look here. This is the outreach already starting here for us. This picture not coming from Central Florida, but this is the back of a U-Haul at a church in Ohio. And these folks sent this to us, this water coming our way. And we know that we thought water would be an issue. We, again, asked people to go out and make those purchases calmly and store up that water. And now we know that with almost every county, Martha, asking for people to conserve their water, that shipments like this will come our way. But it's nice to know people have reciprocated, because I know that Floridians have done that for other people as well.
We knew that folks were going to rally around Central Florida after the devastation and destruction that Irma would cause in our area, and we're seeing it right here firsthand. This picture of folks packing up this trailer in Ohio and going to bring it down here so they can help out the residents here. We do want to let you know that Jeff Deal's in Seminole County right now, because we've seen this all over the place, Greg. Trees blocking roads and making roads impassable.
And this is a busy road. Typically, this area does not have a curfew in place. Longwood-Markham Woods Road, and that road is blocked. Here's Jeff Deal.
We're on Longwood-Markham Road in Seminole County. In this area, we've seen a lot of trees down, a lot of brush in people's yard, as you might expect from a storm like this. If you take a look down the street, you can even see the orange sign down there, somebody advertising that they have no power at that house over there, perhaps hoping to get some help a little bit sooner. We're told that a lot of the homes around here do not have power. If you take a look back this way, this may be one reason why. You can see the large tree that toppled over right there into some power lines. It's blocking off the road. You can see there's a Seminole County Sheriff's deputy out here blocking it on this side, and then another unmarked Sheriff's deputy car on the other side over there. So we are told that there is a crew that is going to be coming to remove that tree to try to clear the road out here. And when we showed up out here, perhaps that truck is here as part of the crew to help take down that tree. But when we showed up out here, these gentlemen over here actually ended up breaking an axle in their car trying to turn around. They're part of a utility contracting company, and they were trying to get to their office so they could head over to Tampa and help out with some of the power issues that they're having over there in that part of the state. So if you are planning on using this road, you may want to avoid Longwood-Markham. But folks out here trying to get it done, but we've seen a lot of folks at their homes even cleaning up their own messes, just trying to get through this. Reporting from Seminole County, Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And that cleanup really is the tone across Central Florida. In Orange County, we heard Orange County Mayor Teresa Jacobs talk in her last news briefing that they would be announcing that you could take your own items to a landfill. They'll give you the details on that in the coming days. They're also going to express how you can put it out by the curb so that those teams that they've already contracted with can come around and begin that cleanup as well. It's going to be a process, but everyone's going to have to do their own part.
Exactly. We do want to let you know that Disney World is now saying that it will reopen on Tuesday. It closed for the only 5th time in its history due to Irma, but now the message is that Disney World is to reopen Tuesday after Irma has swept through. Looking at Legoland, they haven't decided when they are going to open just yet, but looks like the theme parks in at least our area will be slowly getting back into business.
It is our business. Let's continue in Orange County with that theme of cleanup. Here's Channel 9's Joe Kepner. Joe?
And we're on the western edge of Orlando, kind of close to Windermere, and we're seeing people already out all over the place just picking up the pieces from Hurricane Irma. You can see this family up on the roof. Luckily, I just talked to this guy. He actually owns a roof and storm repair business. He's got the kids out here helping to pick up some of the debris as well. And just across the street, you hear a chainsaw there. They're chopping up some of the branches that fell down as well, trying to get that cleaned up and making these entrances safe for people to go through. And if you also look over over here. We're also at the entrance to a school zone, but this sign and the sign on the other end of the school zone have both been knocked down, and that's an important reminder to people. As you're driving around town, once the curfew is lifted, remember, a lot of street signs are going to be knocked down. You're not going to know maybe the speed limit or there's lights out still. Got to treat those as a four-way stop, but just be extra careful. Drive a little under the speed limit if you have to, just to make sure you're not missing anything, and just to make sure that you're not entering a school zone where you didn't see a sign, you're not aware, and maybe there's some kids running around, because they are going to get schools back up and going later this week, and we want to make sure everybody stays safe. And we'll keep an eye out for any more of those types of things and let you know about them right here on Channel 9. In Orange County, Joe Kepner, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And it's bears repeating. This is a dangerous process, the cleanup with potential power lines. You're working with chainsaws. Some people have not. After this break, we're going to talk about a fatality in Orange County this morning that happened as someone was surveying their damage and trying to pick things up. We hoped this wouldn't happen, but it did. We'll be back with those details on our continuous coverage here of the recovery efforts after Hurricane Irma. You mentioned Disney World. We now have a new update now. This is from Universal Orlando Resort. They can confirm an on-time opening for Tuesday, September 12th at Universal Studios Florida, Universal's Islands of Adventure, and Volcano Bay, September 12th. Halloween Horror Nights will begin as scheduled this Friday, September 15th. That news coming in from Universal just moments after you brought on the news from Disney.
We want to go over to the weather department right now, where Tom Terry is going to give us an update on Tropical Storm Irma, and you're going to give us the latest on the reports of what it left behind for us.
Yeah, a lot of wind and rain and surge. Right now, this is a very huge tropical storm, but it's starting to lose a lot of its punch. Winds about 70 miles per hour. We are still going to be dealing with some isolated showers. Still a bit of rainfall left over here on the southeast side of Orange County, Kissimmee, East Lake Toho. Zooming in on this little shower right along the Beachline Expressway, just past the International Airport, but a far cry from what it was earlier. Live wind gusts now. 33 miles an hour, Orlando, 35 in Cocoa. Indeed, it is breezy. Merritt Island Island coming in with some of the higher windfall readings that we had, 94-mile-per-hour winds, well away from the center of the hurricane. And that's why we drew the graphics the way we did, keeping hurricane force impacts all along, even the coast, away from the storm. 78 at OIA, Leesburg coming in at 69. That does not include any tornado activity, though. We don't think we had a tornado go over any sensors, so we had some stronger winds embedded in there. And look at this Orlando stat. We had Christian Brewery out in a neighborhood in downtown where it was all flooded. 21.39 inches of rain right here at the station. In fact, above where I'm talking on our rooftop, we have a high-grade sensor. So that's a lot of rain for 48 hours. Apopka came in over 16, and a lot of water went into the St. Johns River. So we have a couple of flood warnings here. St. Johns River near DeLand. It is going to slowly recede since the rain has stopped, but will rise again because the water flows from south to north. And guess where it's flooding? Around Lake Harney. So that's upstream, if you will. It is also slowly rising through the weekend with moderate flooding. So this is something we almost always deal with a big rain event, flooding along the St. Johns River, especially since the winds were so strong up in Jacksonville. It kind of backed up to St. John's a little bit, and that also creates more flooding issues. Now, what else is going on? We have Irma, the center of Irma, about 240 miles away in southern Georgia, and Jose. I'm getting lots of questions about Jose, about 730 miles to the east as a Category 2 hurricane. It's going to do a loop in the open Atlantic, which we have seen before. Hurricane Jean comes to mind. In 2004, did that exact same thing. And then you can see the cone of uncertainty as it starts working toward the west-northwest. Right now, winds of 105. I will let you know, though, I don't have any models that bring it right on shore. Let me show you the latest tropical models. They continue to kind of spin this storm around and bring it. I'm going to go ahead and expand this view a little bit because I want to show you the UK Met's about the farthest to the west with the storm. You can see it just off the east coast. All the consensus models, including the GFS, is way off the coast. Doesn't really show it approaching, but the GFS and the European do say that the Carolina coast or possibly the northeast may get a close brush with Jose. We will, of course, keep you up to date. Post-Irma winds, we're going to start bringing them down here through the overnight hours. Still breezy out there right now, guys, but it looks like the destructive power of the storm clearly has already passed by to the north. We'll have much more, including when our next rain is going to be moving back into the forecast.
Again, people want to be curious. This morning at 7 o'clock, a little after 7 in Winter Park, a 51-year-old man was killed. It's believed that he was electrocuted. Again, there are plenty of trees down, and no one is an expert when it comes to live wires. They get mixed up in the various branches, and in this instance, we had a fatality again. This one will be attributed to Hurricane Irma.
Right now, we're going to go to Christopher Heath, who is checking in on the damage that's happening in Daytona Beach. And Chris, what are you seeing out there?
Well, right now where I'm at, this is Fairview Avenue in Daytona Beach, but the water here, this is the Halifax River. Where I'm at, this drains into the Halifax River, and the fact that the waters come up this far is indication of exactly what the river is experiencing right now because of all of the rain we got over the last 24, 48 hours. If you look at some of these neighborhoods here, you can see water in the front yards all the way up to the porch overnight. We spoke to one family. They're actually out there doing a little bit of repair work right now, trying to get everything squared away. They went through Matthew and had damage. They rode out the storm last night. They said the water came all the way up to the door sill, almost about to go in, and then it started to recede. Now they're out there assessing things and just kind of grateful they made it through Hurricane Irma.
I was just worried about the stuff coming off the house. The wind was really bad. Just watching the water come up.
And as you can see, we have people driving through this. There's been about a car about every 3 or 4 minutes driving through. There are cones down at the end of the street, marking off the street, trying to keep people from driving through this because although the crown of the street is still just barely below the water, on the other sides of it, it gets pretty deep. And some of the vehicles we've seen going through in the last about 20, 30 minutes, it's been up to the doors of the vehicles, but people, as you can tell here, still going through, still trying to navigate their way around this, even though they're trying to keep people, for the most part, off of the street. But you see right there's the cones, and that's where they're trying to make people turn. And you see this guy's going to turn here and follow those cones. But we've seen people coming from all the way down at the far end, driving through this, ignoring some of the roads that are shut down. But again, this is a neighborhood that last night came very close to a lot of people having their homes flooded. This morning, a lot of these residents waking up, taking a look at the damage and realizing it wasn't quite as bad as it could have been. I'll send it back to you guys there in the studio.
All right, I got to show you these pictures. This just came from a friend of mine, Steve Franklin. This is 437 Plymouth Sorrento Road in the 429. And look at the mud from the construction zone, and it buries this car.
Those are, look at this, incredible pictures. Buried the car.
In mud, and that is from the washout from all that road construction. And Steve Franklin sent these in. Tom, as you see this, this is what you guys talked about, what construction teams were worried about because of the rain and the wind and all the road construction.
Where exactly was this again?
This is Plymouth Sorrento Road at the 429 Wekiva Parkway.
Oh, yes. Well, that's right in my backyard. And they've been building this. And yeah, there's big piles of, I just saw from that nearby area, 16 inches of rain in 48 hours and a lot of it coming down sideways. So you got lots of runoff and very heavy amounts of rain. And I don't think I've ever seen that, Greg.
Is that not incredible? And this is exactly what the Florida Highway Patrol had warned us going into the storm, that there'd be runoff from the roads. This was another reason the curfew was in place. In terms of injuries, we have no reports of anyone being hurt here, but this car clearly is going to take some doing to get it out. It likely has seen its better days, but there you go. Encased in mud. As that dries with the sun, it will be basically encased in concrete. Again, coming to us from a friend of mine, Steve Franklin, who works along the roadways and said, you got to see this.
And glad we did. Wow, what pictures. And we also want to show you some video of our reporter, Shannon Butler, who was dealing with the worst of Irma last night in Brevard County. If you caught her live reports throughout the day yesterday, she always ended up in the spot that had the most wind, as you see right there. And look at this, Tom. The rain is just slicing her, if you will, coming down at an angle with the winds blowing so hard. But she was a trooper. At times, she and her photographer getting blown around in Brevard. And I can tell you, covering many storms, the sand stings when it's whipping around like that in your face.
Yeah, the storms were actually rotating in because we had 51 tornado warnings last night. 51, and 20 of them or so were in Brevard County, and the storms themselves were moving at 80 to 90 miles per hour. So that gives you a sense of how fast the winds were blowing there.
Is this a result, Tom, of the track that came more north and east after we thought it was going to go more west over Tampa? Because I'm not quite certain that folks in Brevard County, while some were evacuated from the mobile homes, thought they were going to have this intensity.
This is really just that big spiral arm that preceded the storm. I think we probably would have had this regardless because we were on that dirty side, as you said, the windier side.
Well, there you go. And those guys all are okay tonight. We've checked back in with both of them, of course, live, but we wanted to bring you that's the best hits for Shannon Butler last night. If you slept through it, maybe your power was out, or maybe you were in hiding, which was wise. This is what Shannon did.
That's why you evacuated Brevard County, we hope.
Some did not. Her contact there, Kevin, who she went and talked to this morning, had some serious damage. Thank you, Tom Terry, for that insight. We continue now by taking you to more flooding, this in Orange County.
Yeah, our Jeff Deal is in Orange County along the Orange-Seminole County line, where a lake is now overflowing and flooding parts of the 436.
We're just off of 436 in Orange County near Apopka, and you can see Orange County fire rescue crews are just now starting to block off the streets because of some flooding here. There's a small lake over there. It's called Border Lake, and it's overflowing, and it's sending all the water rushing down into this neighborhood over here. Also in this neighborhood, they're dealing with other things that you might expect, trees snapping in half like that. We've seen the Orange County Fire Rescue Crews guys just a short time ago cutting this tree right here to get it out of the road, to try to get some of this debris out of the road. But you can see some of this water down here and just how deep it's getting. They were telling us at one point it was 10 inches of water down here. But as we continue down, there's an even bigger concern that has them blocking off this road down here. With the water, you can see just beyond that fire line that says do not cross there you can see it almost looks like a ripple of a wave from the ocean. What that is, they're saying that's actually the road is washing out right there because of the pressure from all the water running downhill off of that lake and then across 436 and then down into this neighborhood. Obviously not ideal for people trying to get around and through this neighborhood. We saw some people come down here and turn around a short time ago. You can see all that water just rushing down here like a river. So they're going to be blocking it off and trying to keep people out of this neighborhood for as long as they can. Reporting in Orange County, Jeff Deal, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
With so many people without power this morning, there are some alerts across Central Florida that you need to know about. The town of Pearson and Volusia under a boil water notice for the time being, and the city of DeLand is asking residents to minimize the water usage as much as possible to keep the wastewater from getting into the sewer system while the power is out. And in Seminole County, we've been reporting on this since yesterday. More than 100 lift stations are out across the county. Officials say sanitary sewer pumps in Aloma Woods, Wentworth, Aliqua Lakes, Lake Forest Preserve at Eagle Lake and Woodbine, and crews are out there working to fix the issue, but they're asking you in the meantime to minimize your water use.
Also in Seminole County, Winter Springs, the city says more than 20 lift stations lost power there. They say crews working just as quickly as possible to fix that issue. In the meantime, they again asking folks to reduce water usage and flushing just as much as possible. In Winter Park, City of Winter Park says that several of their lift stations also don't have electricity today, so they need you to conserve your water as much as possible. There is some good news. There is no boil water alert in Winter Park at this time.
In Brevard County, officials are asking everyone who lives south of the Pineda Causeway to reduce their water usage. They say a major lift station in the area has lost power from overnight, and they're asking and saying if reducing your water use will actually prevent the water backups into the homes and rivers as well as out into the streets. And Marion County says that many of its lift stations are not operational because of Hurricane Irma. They're asking that you only use water if absolutely necessary until power is restored. They say the electric companies will work on that just as soon as it's safe outside, and we've seen that it is, and we've seen crews going out and trying to get everyone back up on that grid.
And they'll be working 24/7. Polk County Utilities reporting some of the smaller lift stations in that county down because of power. Those include the lift stations in Oakwood, Janville Village, Queens Cove, and Oak Preserve. They do expect wastewater to spill onto the ground near those stations, so that doesn't sound very sanitary. But they do not believe at this hour that that will back up into the homes. They still ask you to use water sparingly for the time being. And here in Orlando, message is the same. Sounds like a broken record. City officials also asking you to minimize your water usage. They say it will help prevent the risk of sewer system backups as crews start to assess the damage. And curfews, Martha.
Still talking about this because they are still in effect, except for Seminole County. They rescinded theirs at 11 a.m. Volusia starts up again at 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. Tomorrow, and the Flagler County curfew is extended until 7 a.m. tomorrow. Most other counties do have curfews ending at 6 tonight. That includes Orange and Osceola. Lake County's curfew was lifted at 2 p.m. And again, if you're off the streets, it makes it a lot quicker for the crews to get out there, assess the damage, get it cleaned up so that we can be back on our way.
I cringe when I think of people being on the roads because most traffic lights in Orange County are out, and across Central Florida is the same. And photographers have come to me and they rarely say, hey, Greg, can you say this on TV? They said it is dangerous out there. People are not heeding the stop at all intersections. They see a car in front of them go and they blow through. They don't even slow down. And so it's just a matter of time before someone gets T-boned and seriously hurt. So again, let's wait till we get those traffic lights up and running. Unless you have something that's absolutely essential, let's keep it there at home.
Good advice.
There you go.
Keep
everybody alive.
Yeah, I mean, and people are blowing through it, and people aren't even stopping. Well, Shannon Butler talked with some folks in one of Brevard County's hardest hit neighborhoods.
Yeah, the woman was outside when the winds picked up in Mims, and take a look at the damage that Shannon saw there today.
I was studying and I wanted to take a break and come outside and look at the weather.
Okay.
So I came outside and the wind, the trees were blowing, but it was nothing crazy. And then out of nowhere, everything just lifted off the roofs and just started swirling. And I tried to open their front door and it would not open.
So that's suction.
Yeah, so I started banging on it for Blake to come help me open it, and he yanked me inside and we shut both front doors.
Did you think you were gonna die?
I was pretty scared. I froze up, I didn't know what to do.
So did you see the rotation?
Yeah, I seen it at the end of the street. I just seen it like straight up in the air at the very end of the street.
So could you tell if it was touching the ground or not?
No, I mean, as soon as I seen woods get taken off houses, I just turned around and tried to get inside.
And it was just flinging things?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Have you ever seen one before?
No. I don't want to see one again.
I'm a Tom Terry fan. I said we watch Tom Terry all the time. And I said, turn off the TV because I know you're watching movies.
And watch Tom Terry?
Yes.
And why do you watch Tom Terry?
Because I love Tom Terry. He tells the truth.
Oh, how nice nice is that?
Well, yeah, it was a lot to track last night.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
And it's absolutely the truth. I sat here and watched the passion that you forecast with, and I was amazed you would call something and it would happen, even though at times, Tom, you had to go against the National Hurricane Center with that northerly track, and ultimately that's what's happened.
Yeah, it went a little bit farther north, a little bit longer than I think they expected. It still eventually curved away, but it also kind of flattened out. You know, the eye was round, and then all of a sudden now it's a long just burst of wind that came through 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. But we had 51 tornado warnings issued by the Weather Service in Melbourne, who did a great job also.
And that's the thing. Sometimes people blow those off, pardon the pun. They think, oh, there's another tornado warning. We talk about those all the time. But from your mouth to God's ears, if you will, you mentioned it, and a few minutes later it happened, and we saw the results in Brevard County.
We spent a lot of time tracking tornadoes. Eventually, though, hopefully you were just hunkered and ready, because there were several. We had them just lined up offshore.
Saw the damage on Palm Bay.
Well, I'm glad she made it through.
Yeah.
Bless her over there.
Got a good fan.
Give her a big hug for me, Shannon.
All right, another issue we're dealing with right now, and this is something as people start to get out and about, gas lines. And we are now starting to see them build up as people will be going out. The curfews are out in some places, and that's what's happening right now.
Our Steve Barrett is live along I-95 near Cocoa with these long gas lines. And Steve, I guess some South Florida folks say, hey, we need to fill up so we can get back home.
Yeah, that's exactly what is happening here. It's sort of going full circle from evacuating from the storm, now going back home. And I want to take you to take a look. This is one of the few gas stations that's open. And look, the line stretches all the way back around the corner onto I-95. So most of these cars are getting off of the highway. I don't know how they know this is one of the few gas stations that's open, but when they're coming here and it's open, they're greeted by this police officers from Cocoa Beach, or from Cocoa, who are actually sort of guiding them all the way around the building. So this line goes all the way around back of the building, and you see another police officer back there. He's actually directing each car which gas pump to pull up to. So there's very few gas stations that are open right now, but obviously people have expended their tank full to get out of the evacuation zones into wherever they're going, and now they're finding that the difficulty is to get back home. They've got to find gas stations along the way that are open. I'm not sure exactly how many are open along I-95 throughout our viewing area, but this is one of them. Obviously, they're doing a good job controlling them. They've been moving through pretty quickly, and police are actually trying to make them, move along. If you're done getting your gas, pull your car over here. If you need to go inside, use the bathroom and whatnot. So they're trying to make it as efficient as possible, and hopefully we should see more gas stations opening up as the days progress here. Back to you guys.
Channel 9 Steve Barrett again reporting live. You'll start to see that what was a mass exodus, a mass entrance back into South Florida as folks want to go home and see what happened, what's the damage like at their home. So you're going to see gas and traffic really more southbound than northbound.
Exactly. Channel 9's Melanie Holt is live for us as well at the Sundance Marina in Melbourne to see the damage there. And Mel, how did the boats fare?
Well, quite a few of them, they're not seaworthy anymore. Let's just say that. We're here at the Sundance Marine, which is in South Brevard, just south of the Palm Shores community. And there you can see what's left of some of the docks here. But you also see debris from a number of the boats that stayed here in this marina during the storm. Now, look at that mast, just folded over at this point in time. You can also see a number of ships damaged, one almost on top of the other there as you look in the distance here at the marina. Now, during the height of the storm, I'm told that the water was actually over the docks, and you're asking, well, how does anyone know that? Well, I ran into a few captains out here that tell me they rode out the storm last night in their boats. Let's hear from one of them.
This is all we got. If you don't stay on your boat, turn your camera over and look that way. You see 4 of them sitting on the bottom right now, 5 of them. 1 right over here. 2 more on the outside. That's 8 boats down.
That was Clyde Abercrombie. He described his experience to me like being the pinball in the pinball machine, just going back and forth there. He's a bit bruised, but obviously made it through as well as the other captains that I talked to give you an idea of the wind. I asked all 3 men, I said, well, did you wait out the storm on your boats during Matthew, and they said they did. They said there was really no comparison with Irma. They said the wind was just much more powerful as they rocked back and forth. In terms of rainfall, too, I did talk to the county about that, and they told me in a 12-hour period, Hurricane Irma dropped over half as much rain on Brevard County as 2004's Tropical Storm Faye did in a 72-hour period. So half the amount of rainfall in just 12 hours to give you an idea of how intense it was out here. Live in South Brevard County, Melanie Holtz, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Boy, you can see the calm after the storm, too. What a beautiful day over at the coast, but the damage is ugly, no doubt. The biggest threat now, according to Governor Rick Scott in his most recent briefing, will be river flooding this week. We'll talk more with Tom Terry about that. And then I know it's tempting for kids to want to play and splash in the streets in the water, but the health department is now issuing this warning that there could be and likely will be harmful bacteria in that puddling water, and that could also include snakes and floating insects. We've seen those red ant piles floating in water before, so I know the kids want to splash around out there, but the health department's now saying that it very likely could have harmful bacteria.
Yeah, it's not only people who've been displaced, but remember the wildlife and critters out there have been displaced as well due to the flooding. So be careful. Watch your kids.
Watch their toes. All right. Joe Kepner found some folks cleaning up at an Orange County neighborhood. Here's Joe's report.
It seems like the farther west you go into Orlando and Orange County, as we get closer to Windermere, we're finding more and more damage, a lot more trees down, a lot more branches down, some roads blocked off, road signs that have been taken out. We found this family's house. The tree fell directly into their fence. That's not anything that is too bad. You can recover from stuff like that pretty quickly, but as we look over here at their pool enclosure, pretty much nothing left from that. A lot of people lost just screens. They seem to have lost the whole thing, and it's the pool itself has plenty of debris in it as well. And we just want to remind people, be extra careful when you're cleaning things up like this, especially if there's any power lines in the area that may have fallen down, because if it gets in that water, it can be extremely dangerous. Now, this neighborhood, all the people that we've talked to say that they did not actually lose power. It kind of flickered throughout the night, but most of it, for the most part, it just held on. So these families are out here. They're already starting to clean up, as every family is all over Central Florida. And once again, look around, see if there's other people that need your help as well as you clean up the mess around your own house. And we'll keep you here right here on Channel 9, just letting you know any danger or any other damage that we see, so we can help keep you safe as we clean up now that Hurricane Irma has passed through. In Orange County, Joe Kepner, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Joe, thank you. More breaking news coming into our newsroom. Limited commercial service will continue tomorrow at Orlando International Airport. You're asked to call or check with your airline before heading to OIA if you have a flight booked. Clearly, the ripple effect will be large because we had all those cancellations, but OIA trying to get back to normal.
As best as they can. Well, we have our Mert Price, who is in the Villages right now, where they are dealing with a sinkhole.
Take a look at this sinkhole behind me. It's opened up underneath this home in between two here in the Villages. We talked to the neighbors out here, and they say that this is one of several sinkholes that have caused authorities to come in and evacuate 4 homes.
Ours is right over there. That's the one that's undermined, about 8 feet underneath.
John Susko was shocked when he discovered this sinkhole under his Arbordale home in the Villages.
I just walked away from there, went in the house and sat down. My neighbor was walking by. He looked and he ran to the door and said, "You got a sinkhole."
But it's not the only one on the block. We counted at least 3 sinkholes, including this huge hole estimated to be 20 feet deep, about 100 yards away. The homeowner says that one happened yesterday, and his sinkhole opened up this morning. One of the homeowners told us that he talked to authorities, and they told him that if this thing continues to spread, then there could be even more evacuations on this street. Reporting in the Villages, Mert Price, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
And part of the concern also now is that in the coming days that the rivers will be rising due to the flow of the water and what Irma brought. And our Field Sutton is live right now with more.
Governor Scott actually talked about this being the biggest threat for all of us in the coming days. And let's take a look now at the Little Wekiva with Field Sutton. Field, it looks like you've got emergency crews there behind you as well.
And it looks like the governor may be right, because the people that live here and have lived here for a long time say they've never seen anything like what you're seeing back behind me. And you can see just solid water across this road. This is a road that goes down and then continues on around. It's a huge neighborhood back there. And I'm not sure how much you can see right now. Off and on, as we zoom way in, earlier, we were able to see people in canoes trying to get out of their homes. Just a few minutes ago, we saw a large sort of outdoor, high-up platform truck brought in by Seminole Fire Rescue that is able to drive across that. You can see it, probably the max depth right now is, I see it up to mailboxes over there. It could be 4 feet. That truck was able to go through back there. It's already been back once and brought a load of people that were in there bringing their pets and what little they're able to grab. This all happened very, very, very suddenly. And what you've got is on the right side of your screen, just past the row of houses that's going to be going down the right side of your screen, is the little Wekiva, apparently prone to flooding, but just not like this. And the problem that you're looking at as you look down this way is that things kind of flip-flop, and whereas where we're standing, the road is higher than that river. Neighbors tell me, although I've not laid eyes on it yet since we just got out here, that as you get down and you go down what's obviously a hill there, it sort of flips itself, and that road is really dangerously low. But just talking to one of the families that was just rescued out from the other side, they were telling me they have a landlord who told them he thought they were wasting their money when they went to do something related to getting some sandbags because nothing like this ever happens here and they weren't going to need anything. Well, obviously, whatever sandbagging was done would have been far too little to help them, because they tell me that their garage was where they started noticing water coming in, and pretty soon, it got up to several feet deep there in their garage and on into their house. And they tried to drive out. I don't know if Joe can show you. It may be blocked by the gray car. There's a white Ford Ranger pickup down just past the police line. They tried to drive out. It got their truck, disabled their truck. That's now stuck. And then it was the rescuers that had to go get the rest of the family from the other side. A lot of people out here helping. It's very gratifying to see the way this neighborhood's coming together, bringing people leashes for their pets, because all they did was grab their dogs and didn't think about the accessories so that the dogs don't run off, bringing water for people, really everything that you can imagine to try to make people comfortable. It's nice to see as this rescue operation continues. We know there are people still trapped on the other side of that, and I am told the water is still rising. It is not going anywhere, and it is only getting more and more dangerous out there. So we're going to remain on scene here, trying to figure out how many more people are over there and what's being done. I think if we're zoomed in, you can see the canoe right there, the green one that some people are in. So they're obviously probably needing some help, unless that's rescuers. A lot to figure out here. We'll bring you updates as we get them. For now, live in Seminole County, Field Sutton, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Wow, that is an image that unfortunately, thank you, Field, will be repeated over and over again, because that's not even talking about the St. John's, which is going to flow from south to north. So we're going to see a lot more flooding. And as Governor Scott said, that will be the big story this week.
It will. We're going to continue to monitor that situation. Also, the president is making comments about what Irma did to us here in Central Florida. We're going to have his remarks coming up right after this break.